So it's Monday and we're here now. So what I'm doing is looking at this velcro again. So I've just given this now a few days to cure, and even though we're not going to rely on the sticky tape, look at that, it would come off. It's still remarkably strong, isn't it? Look, you know, look at that force. That's pulling it apart. Now, look at that, and it just stays on. Now, I've done these the wrong way round actually, but if we now try and, no, we can't pull them apart. I was going to try and pull them apart, but I don't have enough purchase there. But you saw how strong that was. Well, we're going to use that thick. So it's more than double the thickness of this. So what we're going to do today is put this Velcro on the ridge of our spray cover, and to do that we're going to come over here and go on the floor. Hopefully you will be able to see this because it's a dark floor and a dark cover. So let's sort of unwind enough of this so that we can stick this on. Now look, we're going to stick this on. We know it sticks really well, and we're going to try and get this as close to the edge as possible. And then we're just going to get the other piece, do the other side. And then we're just going to take it down to the boat and eke our way along. Just got to be careful not to, don't want it to unravel too much. Otherwise, if it unravels, if this gets a bit wobbly, it's not going to stick. We're going to get little bumps and lumps under it, which we don't want. But there we go, that's it. There is a little bit of give in both materials, so you can get a nice straight line. And this time you'll see it isn't quite a straight edge, is it? But I think we have got enough give just to. What I'm going to do is make this as straight as we can. So it'd be something like, oh gosh, yes, that's not great, is it there? But it'd be something like that. And then it's let down by that little nick there. And then we'll just have to trim that back. But this is going to be underneath, so you won't see it anyway. So let's put this one on. This can be shorter than it needs to be because the top here is going to be like that. That's it. That's what I want. Like that. The top here is going to be sort of folded over and that. So we'll have to maybe peel that off. Now we'll do the same as we did with the other side. But this side I think it's gone on much better. Yeah, it's a bit easier to do. I think a bit of experience. There we go. So that will be the starboard side. You're at the bow. This would be the port side, and there is our ridge. The ridge, the pole, or the bowsprit would go down here, and that's going to be how we connect this together. So there we go. Something like that. And then this would obviously be, more of kind of that shape. So ultimately we'll just give that a good sew around the edges of each side. But to be honest with you, what would be good, let me give this a test now. I don't really want to stand on it, but let's just see what the pull strength of that is. Oh yeah. That's pretty good. I've used all my. I've got another box on the way, but I've used it all up on this. So how are we going to attach this PVC to the wood? And why are we attaching it to a piece of wood? Well, because I want the wood to be part of the PVC and to seal it and to generally stick it to that wood. So then it's not reliant on the pressure between the sandwiching, between the gunnel. it'll be reliant on that a little bit, but it'd be better if it can also just hold its own as well. So I've got a bit of wood, there's a bit of ply here, and actually a bit of pine, cheap pine, that I've been using to play with. I was going to test some various glues. However, I've been told with a bit of reliability that the best stuff for this is Gorilla Glue. And not the cheap stuff. This is the you know what, it grabs everything glue. So that's what I'm going to do. All I'm going to do is make sure we get a good coating of this on the wood. So it's going to be a bit, there you go, that'll do. And oh my word, and a little bit on there. And you can see how it goes out of control very quickly, this does. There we go. Let's just get a little bit more. It's supposed to be, I was planning on going back to the boatyard today just to check out that fiberglassing, but the weather actually hasn't held. It's not held anything like it was supposed to. So just make sure I stick it on the side it's most likely going to be stuck to. And yeah, sorry. So it's not worth going down. The other reason is I'm still seeing a chiropractor about my back, seeing a slightly different one now. And she's told me I must not go back to the boat and certainly not clamber around. I'm just going to put it that way because it won't fit the other way. But yeah, certainly I mustn't clamber around the boat, which has actually made my back a little bit worse, unfortunately. So yeah, I thought, yeah, easy enough to not go. Now look, I should have done this first. I'm going to leave that there to dry, and then I've just got this little bit of extra here. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to do, because you know when I did the test gluing, I actually didn't ever test this glue for just PVC to PVC. So I'm going to give that a go as well, because it's got quite a lot of, it could have quite a lot of uses if so. This is the boom. It's actually a mirror gaff that's been converted into a boom. And I remember when I sort of created the boom last season, we said, yeah, we didn't worry about anything, renovating it or anything. The only thing we did was fill the little sail channel up with epoxy to strengthen it, just in case it split again. And we also glued that split together. It seems fine. And, you know, things like this, look, that really need refilling and stuff. But the boom has worked, and I think it's now time to keep to the promise of getting it renovated. It shouldn't take very long to sand, and then we need to epoxy it. Right, here we are. Gosh, this boom is full of holes. So right at the other end of the sail now, we're going to put a little spot in these screws just to, you know, help weather those up. And then these are the top. Now these are, oh, I don't know, I am gonna just fill them. All of these little holes, they're just going to get filled, and we're going to start again with them. We're going to drill them out into the I think there were just a little bit of air bubbles in here. We'll let that cure. Hopefully it does cure. And then hopefully the weather's a bit better tomorrow and we can do a bit of sanding. So it's been about 17 hours. It says 24 to cure fully, but I thought we'd have a look at it. And its pull strength is pretty damn good on there. Together, the peel strength, not so good, actually. We've had better, haven't we? So, PVC to PVC, yeah, not great. Here's the wood. Yeah. It's not great. And on the wood here, you can see much better. But not great. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave that on the wood there to see if it cures a bit better. Let's just try that pipe. Just very, very similar. No difference really in the different woods. Sticks to the wood much better there. So what I've got the seam sealant here that we know sticks PVC to PVC super duper well. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give this a go on the woods. Now, I think both these woods have behaved similarly, I was going to say, but go on, let's just put it on this piece as well. We may as well. And it'd be interesting, won't it, to know how well this works. So we're just going to stick that. I'm going to try. I have given this a little bit of a sanding, but I think we're going to have to kind of use the same section. So I'm just going to do that and hold it down there. And the same for that. There we go. And let's just leave that. That's going to need 24 hours, so we'll leave that as well and see how well that sticks as well. The seam sealant now is sticking this wood here, and you can see it's definitely stuck better. Oh my god. Yeah, look at this. So that's ripped the wood off there, and then there's no glue in that bit. And oh my gosh, yeah, where it's actually overlapped the wood at the side and on the bottom, it's stuck. So it's actually pulled it off the wood. So let's try this side, which was much more uniform. Yeah, look at that. That is brilliant. And actually, look, it's ripped the wood off. It's actually stripped the wood off the top there. So that's going to be more than enough. If you think about that sandwiched and that's going to be pulled, that's going to be absolutely fine. So, well, the Dometic seam sealant wins again. We'll be getting a bit more of that and using that. conspiring against us. My sander's just given out, so I've just changed the fuse, checked the motor, just stopped it, changed the sanding disc, and it just will not switch on. So it is quite old, and it has done quite a lot of mileage, and it is quite a cheap sander, so probably time for a new one. So okay, unless I can get one today from the local DIY store, we're not going to be able to get this done. So next job is to do that. Got a new one. To be honest with you, I've got the same brand, Erbauer. I think there's a DIY chain in the UK called Screwfix. I think this is their own brand. To be fair, the last one I had of these was 50 quid. And it sanded, literally, I've had it 9 years. It sanded my whole office, all the larch on it. I mean, the poor thing has done well, hasn't it? And I just looked up online, and it looks like the motor's just gone. I actually opened it up very quickly, just to have a little look, just to see if the motor was spinning freely and if there was any sawdust in there that shouldn't be. But I think £50 and 9 years, we've done well. This one, I may as well show you. Because I'm having a cup of coffee, and I like showing you new stuff anyway. So here it is, and it's just an orbital sander, 150mm, 450 watts. So it's a good meaty one. Oh, it's got a much better dust bag. I mean, look how much better that is. You can tell the other one was old. It's like cars with me. I'll usually buy a car, I don't know, 2-year-old car, and then I'll keep it. Well, I kept one 12 years. I kept one 10. And the last one I would have kept a lot longer. If you may have remembered, I had a Mondeo. Would have kept that a lot longer if it hadn't been for the gearbox failure on it. So, yeah, I tend to do that. So when I get a new one, it's like everything's like a spaceship inside. It's really cool. This is the same as that. And yes, I do get excited about power tools if you're asking that question. This is really good, isn't it? Look, instead of the little cloth bag, which you could never get clean, this has got a little, like just a completely plastic one, and with a little emptying part there. And I guess you could give that a wash, couldn't you, in the summer, as long as you can let it dry. So we'll pop that on straight away. I hope I've got that on the right way. And typically with me, I don't look at any... oh, no, it's the wrong way, yeah. Typically for me, I never look at the instructions. Generation X, you see. PlayStation generation. Don't look at manuals or instructions, we don't. You always got to kind of find ways around that. As a software developer all my life, you have to find ways of getting people to learn your product now without giving them a manual, which is interesting, isn't it? Got a few sanding sheets in the price. Also, what's really interesting, I've got this little attachment, which is a Hoover attachment. So not only will that be good for connecting up to me Hoover, but I guess you could give the whole thing a blow, you know, a good old blow or suck, whichever one you need to do, which is good. And one thing I do like about these Erbauers is they come with a lovely bag. So, you know, you can grab that bag, you know, when you need it, and you've got all your sanding sheets in there if you need to. And this bag is much better. It's much sort of got a bigger, wider opening at the top. So there you go. £60 well spent. Let's get on with the sanding. go. One lovely looking wood beam. Oh, it feels lovely. So I finished it off at the end there with some 180. It's good enough for me. And then the end there, if you can see that, it's quite nice. So the little gooseneck will fit nicely onto there. Wherever I've put that, I don't know. But we're looking good, aren't we? It's not until you actually get it nice white down, look at all the sawdust off, and you start to see that beautiful grain. Even this, where I've epoxied the channel, looks really kind of quite nice. Part of it, doesn't it? Part of the history for sure. I've got it suspended there. This is all a bit Heath Robinson, as we say in the UK. And I can just wind that back over there, just to, let's raise it up a tickle. Move this rubbish light out the way. There we go. And that should be enough. So now I think we may as well mix up some epoxy and get this on. I'm using these new brushes because I do not want to use the old brushes. Those old brushes were a nightmare. The hairs that came off them were unbelievable, and I've had enough of them. There we are. All epoxied up. Didn't take very long, about 5 minutes to be honest with you. So what I'm not going to do with this is make the mistake I made with my spars. Some of the spars, I definitely tried to rush them, and you can see on the spars there's some drips, and you know what, I'm not that bothered, to be honest with you, and they'll definitely sand off when I next do the spars, but I want to just, do this I've got the time this year, so I want to make sure we do it nice and smooth, and then we'll put another coat on tomorrow. And then we'll just put coats of varnish on. I think we might be able to get 2 coats a day if we do one early in the morning and one in the evening. But we don't need that many coats. I'm thinking maybe 4 and we'll be done. And then we'll put all the chandlery back on and then that'll be one boom done, won't it? It's about 3 hours later and I've just been reading the West Systems website. And it says if you want to recoat your 105, which is this, the resin, then you want to do it between 2 and 3 hours later, and when it's still tacky. So I've noticed, we do need a little bit more. So I'm going to get a little bit more of this and give it one more coat, and then we'll leave it to dry overnight. Right, there we go. There's that second coat. It's looking quite shiny, isn't it now? It's kind of getting that nice deep glossy look, which is good. The other thing I did, let me bring you down here. I had some spare, so I've actually stuck this wood and done a little test strip over here of epoxy on the PVC as well. I figured, why not? Seeing as I've got loads spare. So I've done that as well. So you can see the weather today is horrendous. We've got it's been raining all night. There's been periods of snow. It's 2 degrees, pretty strong winds, and it's miserable. The rain is really heavy at the moment. And tomorrow doesn't look much better. Saturday, a little bit better, but I can't go to the yard on Saturday or Sunday. So next week, we're looking a little bit better. Maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, but it's definitely not fiberglassing weather, is it? It goes a bit colder again on Thursday. That's all I have. So yeah, really waiting for the weather to change a little bit so we can get the boat finished. But yeah, glad I got that boom sanded yesterday. This was my little test patch with the epoxy on it, and yeah, it's rubbish. Do you know what? It's actually, the reason it's rubbish, I think it's soaked into the wood. But let's just try this little test patch for sure and see. The one thing about this is it's not very flexible. And yeah. Okay, so epoxy, yeah, no good. Kind of knew that, but worth a test. I'm using 120 grit. Because I find the 180 grit just doesn't quite do it for me, to be honest with you. But you just be quite careful with it, especially on the corners. There we go. A little bit more. It's not my favourite pastime varnishing, I'm not going to lie. But, you know, it's worth doing well. If you're going to do it, you may as well do it well. And the more coats you get on, the tougher it is. Although what I do find rather annoyingly with varnish is you spend all this time varnishing your wood, you know, getting a lovely nice coat, you know, load of coats on, and then you just whack the wood somewhere and that just dents the varnish and penetrates the whole, you know, the job, and it just starts peeling off from that point anyway if you're not careful. So yeah. So it can be quite frustrating when that happens. But there we go. Okay. And this last little bit is always a little bit awkward. I want to reuse that brush, so that's just in a little bit of white spirit. And that's the first coat done. I shall see you. Let me come under here. So that's the first coat done. I'll see you for the next one.